Chapter 3 Harboring Ideas. Leif's hair streamed back from his face as he raced against the wind. He coasted past the Little Mermaid statue at the harbor park and past the wind turbines in the harbor that produced electricity for the people of Copenhagen. He and Dana used to love coming to the harbor to watch the blades of the turbines spin like beautiful pinwheels rising out of the water. The harbor was where Dana had first taught Leif to pay attention to weather. She always pointed out the big, puffy cumulus clouds that looked like fish, mermaids, and other creatures. Sometimes, because of the forecasting she did, she would call ahead of time and tell him to bring his kite, even when there was no breeze. By the time they had finished their picnic lunch, a new weather front would have moved in, and there would be enough wind for flying kites. Leif hopped off his bike, gently tossing his backpack onto the ground. As he unrolled his kite and string, he looked around. Whitecaps tipped the waves in the harbor. The leaves were tossed by the breeze, and he noticed that smoke from a distant chimney was streaming out horizontally. From his practice with Dana, he had a Beaufort scale memorized. Right now, it was about 4 on the scale, which meant that the wind was blowing 20 to 28 kilometers per hour, about as fast as he'd been pedaling to get here. Catching the wind, his bright orange, fish-shaped kite tugged at the string in Leif's hand. The air seemed to scoop it away, and it took off. Watching the kite swim reminded him of Dana's new fish. She had said their gills were pumping hard. What could be the problem? He remembered the time he had almost lost a whole tank of fisk after the power went out in his house for days. After the fish tank pump had stopped working, the fish had flapped their gills furiously. That's when he learned that fish need oxygen too, just like people. But fish take in oxygen from the water instead of the air. The pump in the fish tank helped mix air into the water so the fish could get more oxygen than from water alone. Leif stared towards the wind turbine blades spinning in the breeze. As a motorboat passed by, he noticed its propeller blades spinning just like the turbine blades, only they were stirring up the water behind the boat. Leif suddenly smiled. He had an idea to help Dana's fish. Chapter 4 An Engineering Talk. Leif knew he wanted to make a paddle to stir up the water in Dana's pond and give the fish more oxygen. The question was, how could he power a paddle? Leif knew just the right person to ask, his mom. She was an expert at generating electricity from the wind. Leif's mom was a mechanical engineer who worked on wind energy projects. Engineers are people who combine creativity with their knowledge of math and science to solve problems. Leif's mom helped figure out how the different parts of wind turbines and other machines should be designed so they fit and worked well together. She liked the challenges of her job, deciding how to put parts of machines together, and she liked working on teams with lots of other engineers to solve problems. Leif figured that Dana's goldfish had a problem worth solving. When he got home, he found his mother in the kitchen. "Mom, how could I generate energy with a windmill?" he asked. His mom turned to him from her cutting board, her hair falling over one eye. "What is it that you need energy for?" "I want to power a water paddle." "Okay," she said. "So what you really mean is that you want to change wind energy into energy that will power or move your paddle." Leif's mom was always so choosy about the words people used. "You know that there's energy in the air. The hot and cold spots of air cause currents or motion." She whooshed one hand past the other. "You mean the wind?" Leif asked. "Yes, the wind. So the energy of the wind can be used to do something useful." "Right, like turn a windmill." "A windmill or a turbine," Mom said. "What's the difference?" Leif asked. "A wind turbine changes the air movement into a spinning motion that is used to generate electricity." Leif shrugged and took a carrot stick from his mom's pile. "Doesn't a windmill spin?" "Yes, but a windmill doesn't generate electricity. The turning motion does other things, like work a grindstone to grind flour or move the parts of a water pump. It sounds like you want to do something similar to pumping water. You want to get the water moving. Anyway." Leif crunched the carrot. "So how could I make the windmill do that?" His mom put the knife down and folded her arms. "That depends on a lot of things. How big will the paddle be? What materials are you using to make the windmill and paddle? How will the windmill and the paddle be connected?" Sometimes his mom could be too picky. "I don't know exactly. What do you think I should do?" She chuckled and tapped the tip of Leif's nose with her finger. "I think you should try to figure it out. I can help you. Why don't you design a plan for your windmill and build a model?" An hour later, Leif's mother was leaning over him, talking a mile a minute. "Oh, that's good, Leif. You got the blades to spin like a pinwheel." "Or an anemometer." She looked surprised. "Oh, yes. You must have learned of that because of the Vare station you and Dana set up." "You're right. Pinwheels, anemometers, windmills, and turbines all have parts that catch the wind. You've got the basics down." She turned the model around to view the back of it. To get this to work outside, you'll have to think about some sturdy materials to use. Then you have an experiment with it until you find something that works. It's a big project, Leif. Leif felt like a fish swimming in a swift river of possibilities. I know it is, Mom, but I bet I know someone who can help me, Leif said, trotting off to turn on his computer. He needed to talk to Dana so the two of them could brainstorm together. 2 heads are better than 1, he thought.